Hello, this is Jonathan, and yeah, it's been a while since I last recorded. I'm a little bit disappointed, honestly. I was preparing for a presentation that I did at work, so that's entirely on me. I prioritized spending time working on that presentation than over spending more time on this and other things. So I don't exactly remember everything that I was doing here. I remember testing out the DBG macro. I also remember testing out prefabs, and I think I actually came up with an idea of how prefabs work, and that realization was made last episode, kind of at the end. Episode? Log, whatever. Today I kind of want to continue on that thread, but first we're just gonna pop over to r/rust for a sec. So I was just browsing r/rust earlier today, and I noticed this thread here about functional programming and the builder pattern. Shut up. About functional programming and the builder pattern. So in this thread, this is a person who says they're a big fan of the builder pattern. They see stuff like this. And they're like, I'm coming from a Redux background. My instinct is to be more functional and not modify self. So I'm inclined to do this. Is there any strong reason to prefer one style over the other? And that's interesting. That they like so. I guess I've probably made clear in previous parts of this log, or these this series of logs. I do have a bit of a functional programming background, and yes, this is a very functional way of, I guess, updating a field in some struct. Like, you'd want to make a new copy of the structure with just that one field being different. So this is interesting, but the assertion that this builder pattern or like mutation is really bad, or that this is like the only way to do things functionally, is not really correct. We're just gonna pop out of the Rust playground. Yeah, here we go. Oh yeah, I was playing with stuff here. Alright, so we're gonna start with a vector. This is not a mutable vector. This is just a vector. So let's call it vec equals vec. Give it 1, 2, 3. We're gonna define another function. I don't know. This is gonna be called push. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take the vector, but we're gonna take it mutably. So this is I don't know, U32, whatever our elements are, we don't really care. And we're going to what are we going to do? We want to push something onto this, right? So we're going to take another U32, our actual value that we want to push. And we're going to return a vector of U32, as one would expect. So I'm going to show sort of an example of how the builder pattern can be used in a purely functional way. You don't, and we can still have the mutation. We don't have to like make copies of things. That people in this entire thread here, just nobody even like mentioned this even once in here, that you can do this. But you can just take the vector, do the push as you would normally, and just return the vector. This is pure, or at least it's pure to the outside world. So inside we're still doing mutation, but that's okay, because to the outside world nothing has changed. So you obviously this isn't like a super generalizable pattern for absolutely everything, because if you're doing like I/O or you're using like RNG here, that non-determinism could affect results, and so you won't have a pure computation to the outside world anymore. So you do have to be careful about this, but I mean, we can even, I'll show that if you make a new vector here, new vec equals push, give vec, and we'll give a value 4. This is okay. So I don't know, maybe I can do like print line. This should work, I imagine. Oh wait, I don't think I need to do that. I can probably just do this now. The new debug macro that we have for just printing stuff. Yeah, there we go. See, so our new vector is just a vector of these elements 1, 2, 3, and 4, and everything here is still immutable. Like we didn't have to do like a let mute here. We didn't have to do this. The reason why this is pure, I don't know if like Haskell people would call this pure exactly, but like in my opinion, as far as I can tell on the outside here, there's no mutation happening because I can't even access vector anymore. Vec is gone. I've moved this into here. Remember, Rust supports this kind of affine type system. So because we're not taking a reference, like in this thread, so this thread's using a mutable reference to self. If you take the mutable reference, then yeah, if you try to refer to vec again, you're going to see the mutation that happened when you called this, so it's not referentially transparent. But in this case, if I try to use vec here, well, we're not even going to be able to compile because we're trying to use a moved value. It doesn't work. So because we're taking advantage of this move here, we can actually make we can actually do this kind of mutation. And while the implementation of push isn't pure, the push function itself to the outside world is pure. So yeah, this thread, I'm just a little bit disappointed that people just kind of completely skimmed over that. Because people were saying that, yeah, you might prefer this one because it's, it's more efficient, even though it's clearly not functional, and you're not supposed to use Rust in a functional way. Like, Rust isn't a functional programming language, so you wouldn't do this. But I mean, really, this right here isn't really all that different at all. Like, the only real limitation here is that now you can't use the old self value. But I mean, if you're using a builder, what chance is there that you're going to be trying to reuse like some intermediate stage or like an older stage of like the built-up object? Pretty low, I would say. There isn't much reason to do that. I mean, sure, you might be able to come up with a case for it, but in those cases, if you really, really, really want it to be functionally pure, then yeah, you could default to doing it this way. But again, like this already is changing the signature from this. So if you're doing the builder pattern, then instead of trying to and you want to be more functional, then I mean, you could do it this way, but this is perfectly fine. And this will work for pretty much any situation where you need to like just do some kind of computation that only does mutations. So this is if there's no other types of side effects involved, like I/O or something that causes things to be non-deterministic, then there really is no problem with just taking this as mutable, do the mutation, return the new thing, the new state. So yeah, that's my tiny functional programming rant of the day, I guess, about this thread here talking about functional programming. I've been actually kind of thinking about this pattern and this idea, and thinking of ways that I could maybe generalize this, because I mean, you can use this for vector, you can do this for your builder pattern. You can do this for any function that just does a mutation and nothing else and returns a value. So my idea was maybe I could make like a macro that just allows you to like wrap a call to vec.push, and then it'll basically just do this under the hood. It'll just like define this function, call it, and then return the new value, and everything's fine. Everything's still functionally pure, and you don't even have to worry about what's happening in here. Obviously, you'd have to be careful with that macro that you don't accidentally wrap something that is going to do some kind of non-deterministic computation here. But for anything that is purely doing mutations and nothing else, yeah, you could just wrap it up. So, like, I don't know. My idea was to have a crate called like funky mode or something, because you know we like our silly memes, or at least I do. And we just wrap something like this, and instead of doing that, we could do like vec.push value, and then it would recognize that, oh, you want to wrap this thing in up in a function like this, and it'll just like, you know, take this and move it into here, and then, you know, figure out what signature should be used, etc. So yeah, that's my I guess complaint of the day. Anyway, moving on. Let's try and work out what we had earlier. Oh yeah, I forgot to record last week too. That was kind of bad. Well, again, I was preparing for other things in life, so that was not really my priority. So yes. I know how the DBG macro works now. It's fine, we don't need that. It was fun while it lasted, but we have other things to do. Actually, what was I doing there? Oh yeah, I was trying to get this out of the storage. Before we get too deep into that, we won't need this anymore. Let me just talk about, where was it? So this one or this one? One of these was, oh yeah, so this Ludum Dare project actually is it's actually under Amethyst. Yeah, this is actually by people who are on the Amethyst team and are actually actively working on Amethyst. So this example is a little bit more official than other examples, which is kind of cool. You can see that some of the code is still messy, like they left in this like commented out stuff. Obviously it's a 48-hour competition, so not always going to have time to handle things, and yeah, they have unwraps here. But this code here does some interesting things. Beat points, for example, are prefabs, but they don't have like a prefab file that you load from, so these things seem very much similar to the was checked structure that I have here. I don't really like the was checked structure though. I'm probably gonna use something else instead. Like an actual sort of like struct, almost like entities are just like item locations, and each item location will have a flag to say if it was checked, and also will contain an item or something, you know, that kind of thing. That's what I'm going for here. The other realization I made last time was that you just have to have a big old sort of like a big old struct of stuff, and you pick and choose which things you want for each prefab that you're creating. But you can also have multiple of those big old structs of, like, it's sort of like a set of things you can choose from. So like, it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet. You go along the line, you're like, I want that, and they're like, I don't want the salad. I'll take the meat though, and Maybe I'll pass on dessert or whatever. But that's essentially what that's essentially how the prefabs work, and that's why they have that implicit sum attribute on them. So that's kind of cool. I now understand how the prefabs are actually supposed to be used. So that means I'm gonna have to restructure my prefab, and I had a better idea of how to do this earlier. Obviously, I've forgotten a lot of stuff since then, so that kind of sucks. But I'm pretty sure I'll be able to figure something out here. Sprite scene prefab. Okay, I don't know about this. What I do know is that I should be following. There was an example I really wanted to look at that did everything that I wanted it to do. Oh yeah, there's also some. There's also some built-in prefabs here that I noticed. So there's like a basic prefab or something. I don't remember what it was called. It might have been like scene basic prefab or basic scene prefab. I don't remember the exact name, but it actually comes from, yeah, here it is. Util scene basic scene prefab. This actually comes from Amethyst. So Amethyst has a predefined basic scene prefab that you can use, and that's defined. Where is it? It's probably one of these. One of these will be. Maybe this one, I'll just go with this. Yeah, let's see if I can dig that up. Or maybe it was this tab. Oh yeah, it was this tab. Okay. Yeah, so we have basic scene prefab here. This is under, now this is util source scene. Just for reference. Basic scene prefab has graphics, transform, light, camera, control tag, and removal. So if I wanted to just, you know, have some kind of base prefab for my game for fast prototyping, then I could use this. It would give me all these things pretty much for free. I don't think that's what I want to do right now. I do want to actually have my prefabs be like, I guess like some kind of composition of like the was checked flag that I currently have, and like an item, and I don't know, maybe like coordinates, you know, like a position in the world. That's also kind of important. So if I have all those things, I think we'll be doing pretty good there. And I don't know about putting items in like weird offset locations. I'm not planning to. So the kind of coordinates that I'm thinking of adding to my prefabs here, probably only going to be like grid coordinates. So remember, actually maybe I didn't mention this before. I think I have though. I'm going to be using a tile map here. So because I want to use a tile map, the game itself, like everything is just going to be kind of laid out on like a grid. So there will be tile coordinates that I can use, and I won't have to worry about exact placement or like the exact pixel numbers or anything like that. I haven't thought about whether or not I want my UI design to be responsive or not. Like you can like resize it so that you can like run it on your mobile phone or whatever. It's not something that I guess I'm considering for this game, so there's a pretty high chance I'm probably just going to be using absolute coordinates for some things. That's just how it is. It's a video game. It's not your web page that you need to make sure people can view on their phone. You know, like you're allowed to target specific platforms with your game. Obviously, the more that you can target, the better. But you know, I'm not particularly trying to aim for a mobile mini-rando experience, especially when this is just kind of like a test project. Or yeah, it's more like a example project. Not really, not really going to be like a fully featured game. I'm thinking I'll probably build off of it later. So, let's see. I'm probably going to want to change was checked to something else entirely. I don't remember. Yeah, I have it defined like this. I'm going to look at this Ludum Dare example again. So they have a sprite sheet prefab. I'm probably going to want to do that as well. Yeah. This is what an idiomatic Amethyst project will roughly look like, I imagine. Sprite render prefab. Yeah, so they've defined a bunch of prefabs here. This is kind of like the... Yeah, this is the RON. That's what it would look like. So here's the Rust code for that. I need to do something similar. That's pretty obvious to me. So they have what? They have a very nested structure, so I'm not entirely sure like how that's gonna map to what I'm doing. Like they have this like sprites, and it's like a list or something here. Yeah, I don't know. This is in the older version of Amethyst. Yeah, that's not quite the same as what I'm doing right now because I can just do like the derive prefab data thing. So okay, let's look back at this. I think Puffy is a reasonable example anyway. So let's go back to Puffy. I think that's where I was. Yeah, I was at the Puffy example. So yeah, they had a scene prefab data. I'm being silly, and I'm using was checked instead of some actual scene prefab data. I'm just going to call this item location prefab data, maybe? But then I also want it to have location. Well, we can restructure later once we realize that we can like compose prefabs or something. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how this is all going to work just yet. The prefab data that I'm currently thinking of would probably look like one gigantic struct with like the was checked stuff. It'd have the coordinates of things. It'd also have to have like the player in there. Basically it'd have to have everything, right? If I only wanted to use one prefab loader. So I'm gonna have multiple prefab loaders. I'm not sure how to make it so that you have, I guess, a component that is part of like one prefab component that is part of multiple things. I don't know if you can like compose prefabs. Is what I'm trying to say. Composable prefabs would be kind of cool, if it's possible, but I actually don't know. Well, at any rate, let's try to create a sort of scene prefab data of our own. I'm gonna have to derive different things here, I believe. Yeah, this was clone. I don't think I need to do that necessarily. I'm probably just going to do what I had earlier here. Yeah, this will probably just be like a sturdy default as well. Well, I'll consider adding it later. This struct can be defined as I don't know. Let's change the name. Item location prefab data. We'll have was checked, I guess. And this will have to be an option. Of a bool. Seems kind of silly, but it makes sense in the context of how Amethyst works. So I won't have to implement component for it at all. Yeah, I think we're fine. I don't think we need to do anything special here. That might change, but... So I did change the name of this, which is going to affect a whole bunch of other code, unfortunately. Probably just here? At least I should hope. Just this one. So they do a read storage in here. We don't really know. Well, we know it's an animation set. Read storage. Okay, that's interesting. It should just be like a scene prefab data or whatever. Alright, we're gonna go back to the main and change the prefab loader before I forget to do that. That's important. That's not main. Where's main? It's over here. Oh, I'm kind of sleepy right now. It's only like 1:35, but like I don't know. I didn't really get a good sleep last night. What am I doing? Wow, my brain just like completely melted. I guess yeah. I'm when I feel sleepy, I just completely forget what I'm doing. So I had a prefab loader system with was checked, right? And we don't have was checked anymore. Means I have to change this to item location prefab data. Sick. I'm glad the autocomplete there was so like fast. It was on the ball. Very happy to see that. Let's call this prefab data loader. Nothing special. And I think that's it, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to go on the assumption that that's all that really needed to be changed. Okay, except for this. This is not right. And also this is not right either. There's probably an import here that, yeah, isn't right. Ooh, that would mean that our loading state has to be changed as well, because, yeah. So obviously this wasn't the smartest way to handle everything. Let's call this item location handle. Yeah. No such field. That's kind of funny, because that's true, there is no such field. Alright, there we go. Now that seems to have been resolved. I don't think there's anything else I actually have to change here. Okay, that was relatively painless. Oh wait, I see. Oh yeah, no, that's a field. That's fine. Okay, now we need to change this stuff. So we have a storage for item location prefab data, I think. That might not actually be what I get from the storage though. Like, just thinking about it, I may want to look at the book. When I started today's session, I just was like, man, I want to rant about this thing about functional programming in Rust, and then I didn't think about, like, what am I going to do with the rest of the time? Well, I'm probably going to work on this, so yeah, that's oops, that was me being silly. I'm rushing right into this. Does everything in the prefab data have to be a component? I'm starting to think that everything has to be a component, right? One last example that also adds a custom pure data component into the aggregate prefab data. Ooh, hello. Interesting. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, I see what you're doing here. Ah. Got it. This is interesting, though. Their prefab data doesn't actually, doesn't use options. There's no implicit sum. So I guess implicit sum is only if you have like a set of things and you're going to be picking out certain things. But if you want to enforce that you use everything, you don't use implicit sum, because then you're forced to take one of everything. It's like the buffet line, but you're now you now have someone who says, "Hey, why didn't you take your salad?" It's like your mom is there and is mad that you're not eating your veggies, and she's like, "What? You should eat your dessert too." I don't know. Maybe it's like a fruit salad for dessert. Anyway, that's probably how this is supposed to go. Here's a single component prefab derivation. Oh, okay. Why didn't I see this? I think this is what I was trying to do, actually. Huh. Aggregate struct. Create prefabs with transform and mesh on entities. Okay, so I am not quite understanding how prefabs work. I wish this part here they need more examples of. They need a better example of showing how to use this. They need to wait for the prefab to be fully loaded. And then you have to request instantiation by placing the handle on an entity in the world. So I feel like this is already a component. But your prefab can also hold another prefab. So I think you are able to compose prefabs. There's a lot of good information here. I just don't understand this stuff well enough. But I could have done this, which is kind of what I was doing already. I might have wanted to do that, though. In fact, I think I still do want to do at least something like this for was checked. Yeah, okay, we're gonna do this, but we're gonna change it. I think I'm starting to get an idea for how this works again, or like a better idea. So obviously we can't use some component. It's not right. I'm gonna go was checked. This is not going to be a D64. It's going to be bool. Was checked. We're going to put component still, but it's going to be was checked instead. And I want the dense vector storage for now. Actually, I probably don't need a dense vector storage, but I feel like dense vector storage is a pretty reasonable default anyway. I probably don't need to do that, though. So what's interesting here, we have some component, and we have to prefix it with this, prefab component. Right? Yeah. Well, not prefix it with, but do a thing with. I think that makes sense. It might need to be option. I'm gonna assume that it needs to be option. I'm not sure if this is actually going to work. But I think, wow. Create an entity with this handle, which should give me a was checked. Okay, so let's go get a was checked back from here. At least in theory, it'll be a was checked. Although it is an implicit sum. It's not a... What are you complaining about? Okay, yeah, just something down here. This thing, yeah. All these annotations disappeared, and I was like, what? You move this here. You know what's really what's really funny is that people keep like screaming about how Rust isn't functional, and I mean, yeah, a lot of Rust code that you write won't look very functional at all, and the standard library doesn't really encourage a functional style. But Rust is still showing up at LambdaConf this year, so I mean, I don't know. People just can't seem to come to like a real consensus on that. It's such a like opinionated or opinion. It's very subjective, and I just find that so interesting. It's definitely more of a, you know, inspired by. Oh, wait a minute. Is this actually gonna work? I'm starting to think no. I was gonna say it's inspired by functional programming. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Which, I mean, I did say it does cite Haskell as one of its you know, influences in terms of like language design. Building so slow, especially when you do things wrong. Oh, that's the wrong prefab. Nice, I didn't. Glad that doesn't type check, because I missed it. See, this is why I can't imagine, like, how people work with, like, dynamically typed languages and stuff. Sometimes that kind of stuff just, like, pops out of nowhere. I guess you can have, like, some kind of static analysis at the beginning that checks for these kind of things, but yeah. I'm not going to rag on dynamically typed languages, because I don't feel like I'm really qualified to do that. Let's try this. So we'll do that. I'm going to remove the implicit sum from my prefab data. Where was that prefab data anyway? I don't remember. I had a RON file for it though. I'm pretty sure. Didn't I? Yeah, it was this. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure how that looks in the RON file, but there's no implicit sum, I guess. That's what is going to be different about this. Really? Oh, I know. Duh. Of course that's not even the name anymore. I was kind of surprised IntelliJ didn't point that one out to me. I mean, it didn't highlight like it was something that was recognized, so it's kind of interesting. Ooh, I need the deserialize. Okay. Fair enough. Was it a SERDI derive? SERDI? SERDI? It's probably SERDI because serialization and deserialization. So SERDI is definitely the right way to pronounce that. Why? Because I said so. Not because that actually is the, you know, not that because they've officially gone on record and said that's how you're supposed to pronounce that, but because I said so. Oh, I did it again. Yeah, I did it again. Okay. What? Huh, so on these composite structures, probably also going to have to do that. Are you kidding? It's currently unknown to the compiler? Do I need this? This might be required. I don't know if I even have that as a dependency. Let's check SERDI. I do have SERDI and SERDI derive. Not sure about that. No, it's not recognized. Well, that's really unfortunate. Okay, how about Puffy? Puffy the Puff. Use the SERDI default. Wait. It's using this. Are you kidding? It's only this usage, not the other one either. Maybe I'm doing something wrong here. Okay, out of curiosity, does this work? No. Whoa, it really doesn't like this. But that's not... That doesn't have to be defined as prefab data, does it? They don't do that here. Yeah, they do. They do. I'm being silly. They definitely do. Alright, that's okay. I guess we'll just take all this stuff and throw it in here. What? Are you kidding me? Oh, because Boolean isn't, What? Wait, so then how does this work? So Boolean has to be... Prefab data? Or do I have to do this prefab component thing here? It's probably what I need to do. Okay, that's what I needed to do. Silly me. Why would I ever, you know, expect anything? Making assumptions is bad. Randomly guessing at things and hoping that everything checks out is also bad. And yet that's exactly what I just did. So, sue me, or whatever. Actually, don't. Nice, I crashed the game. Alright, what's the panic message? Failed to load the asset. Expected an option. Ew. I see. Interesting. I did not expect that. So we're probably going to have other issues then. Once we do this, it's going to crash for a different reason. I don't like that it just crashes, but at the same time, at least it tells me what's wrong. This is quite the stack trace. Location not wrong. Cannot be loaded. Expected struct. Interesting. The fact that this is loaded dynamically like this and isn't like statically checked at all really sucks. I guess I could have some tests that run the prefab loading logic and ensure that prefab loading is happening correctly. I should add tests that do that. I don't really have any excuses for that. Ugh, excuse me. How's this? Is it like that better? I actually don't really know what it expects when it wants a struct there. Expected a struct at position column 19, line 5. Well, that's what I was trying to do. Oh, there's multiple errors here? Oh yeah, that's a lot of different errors. I think. So it starts with like 0. Oh, because they're using error chain. I see. Interesting. So I'm gonna have to look at some examples of how I'm supposed to load this thing now, because I don't actually know how this works. I feel like I got further last time, and this time I'm struggling. Expected struct. Oh boy. Well, we do have this, at least. Oh, yeah, they do that. It's double wrapped. It's bubble wrapped. No. Okay, that's interesting. That's really interesting. GLTF. Okay. So I have a lead. I already kind of know what I'm doing here. What I should be able to do is track down file, or track down that GLTF thing. It's an asset prefab. GLTF scene asset, GLTF scene format. Okay, let's go track that down, I guess. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, I could look at camera. Camera's a camera prefab. Where's camera prefab come from? I don't know. Okay, we're gonna look it up. Camera prefab. It must be defined somewhere. There's no way it wouldn't be. Well, so probably gonna stop soon. Might record again later today. We'll see. Yeah, okay. It takes one of those. So this is an enum. It takes a perspective. That's projection. What am I looking at? I'm looking for this, right? Camera prefab. It is an enum though. It's an enum prefab. Okay, it's kind of cool. It's good to see. So the sum type representation of for a prefab here. Glad to be seeing that. Perspective 3. Well, we're gonna look for this, I guess. Where's that defined? In algebra. No. Okay, that's very unfortunate. So if I want to know what that is, I have to go look it up in algebra. And that's what kind of sucks about this. Okay, we're gonna look it up. Huh, their logo's NA because it's N algebra. NA is salt. Maybe these people are very salty. Nice. that's not helpful. This is so weirdly formatted. Like, this definitely needs to appear next to here. Like, or it's supposed to appear there, but doesn't. So I'm not sure why it is doing that. It's ugly and terrible and bad. And it should probably be fixed. Just putting it out there. Oh, it's a matrix 4? And what's a matrix 4? Or it contains a matrix 4. Is it like a type def? Or... no. Okay. I'm starting to think that maybe... I don't understand this. Because here they just give it like a... well, no, that's not the right thing. They just give like these 4 values like this. So that's really weird. Why is it sometimes file? Like, why do you actually have like an actual name for the struct sometimes, and sometimes you don't? Maybe I should look up Ron. Rusty object notation. This is a map. Oh, okay, because it has the curly braces. This is an array. Uh-huh. What the heck is this? Is this a struct? Tuple. Tuple struct. Oh, and with named fields, it's a struct. Okay, here we go. I should have just looked at the raw file specification, you know, like a smart person would. And I would have seen this and known what's going on. So no, I don't want this, because that's not a that's a tuple struct. What am I thinking? It would look like this, because this is an actual struct. Which means I don't understand what I'm doing again, because... yeah, that's not what I was expecting. Oh, this stupid fish. So I have seen Prefab Data. What am I doing wrong? That's what I want to know. Is it that I don't need this entities thing? Is it just maybe... maybe it's automatically creating these entities. Could that be it? That could be it. You know, I'm thinking, you know, that might actually be it. Because how many entities are they creating in this file? How... entity, like I don't know, like create. They don't create another. Okay. Oh, I get it now. I get it. You don't create them programmatically. You don't do it in the code. You create the prefabs in your file. Ah, okay. I was thinking about this wrong. There's only one create entity. But there's a lot of entities in this file. There's more than one entity. We have an array of like this entity. We have an array of like containing another entity here. And each entity has a data field. So this is an array of entities. Every entity has data, and that data can be dynamically specified. Okay, I now understand what's going on, so I don't need to create an entity. But then how do I get to the entities? That's what the finder is for. So you need the finder to get an entity because the entities are being created by the file. I understand now. Yeah, because where are we creating entities here? There might be some. Although this is doing a create entity, initialize prefab. But this is using, this isn't using a RON file, is it? No, I'm thinking this doesn't use RON at all. This is just creating them programmatically. So you know what I think I've done here? I've conflated the RON solution for creating entities, or yeah, for just creating entities, period, using prefabs, with the programmatic way of creating entities using prefabs. They are different workflows entirely, and I should not be trying to combine these solutions in the way that I am. So that was the flaw in my reasoning that I have now discovered. Because where do they use RON? They don't at all. So yeah. The programmatic way of creating a prefab is through like doing what they do with the beat points, right? Load prefab. Okay. Interesting. Wait, is this recursive? No, that's beatPoint.load prefab. No, it's not recursive. It's just the same name, but on a different struct. Where was the thing I'm looking for? It was called beat. What is it? Beat point. Yeah, it's just an option beat point. Sprite scene prefab. Oh, and this is the way that you load that prefab. Oh, okay. But beat point itself, wherever that's defined, has its own load prefab. Okay, I get it now. I'm getting a feel for things here. So I need to look up beat point. Okay, where's beat point defined in this project? I have to say, yeah, this way of creating prefabs and everything, very confusing to begin with. I'm glad I think I'm starting to learn how it works, though. I really feel like I'm close. Like I understand it now. What does load prefab do? It returns a result. Okay. Understood. So I'm trying to programmatically create prefabs instead of load them in from a RON file, and okay, yeah, I'm starting to understand this now. Alright, so I'm just thinking about, like, what if I had like a level editor? What would that look like? How would that work? Because then users would be able to create their own like maps, right? I'm thinking they make like a RON file, and then we load that. Like they're not building the RON file from scratch, obviously, but we like programmatically generate a RON file. Then we parse that and load it when we actually want to load their map with everything in it. To me, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, I get that now. Is there a reason why I would want to, or like, is there a way I could make that all programmatic? Probably not, because then everything would just be kind of hard-coded in. So being able to load prefabs from a RON file is like the preferred way of dynamically loading stuff, loading in prefabs based on like user input or something. No, the other way would be just to like have like a map or something, you know, like it doesn't have to be turned into prefab data. It could just be turned into like I don't know, like a string of characters and stuff, and we parse those characters and then we programmatically create the prefab. So yeah, there's a way of doing it that way as well. We don't have to do it in the RON file. So we're not completely out of luck there if we were to do that. So yeah, I'm gaining ideas for like the future and how I might do things. So yeah, not too much progress today, but I feel like I'm making steps in the right direction. I'm thinking I no longer want this RON file, and I don't really want to even be, you know, loading in everything from a RON file.